Hello and welcome to the Popcorn Counter at the Two Real Cinema Club. I'm James Rosica, and I want to open this week with an apology. No Andres Lorente this week. He just sent me a text. And the problem is, he got Alexa to call him a self-driving car, and it sent him in completely the wrong direction. Then it locked all the doors. Then it stalled because somebody put a traffic cone on it. So he's going to be out of action for at least 12 hours. But strangely enough, here at the Popcorn Counter, I've bumped into probably the one person in town who knows more about Andres' problem than anybody else. It's Spencer Brown, director and co-writer of what has to be this year's most topical film. It's Netflix feature, T.I.M. Hey, Spencer Brown, how you doing?
Hello, Jimmy. Are you Rosica on this? What are you? What's your
I'm just James Rosica on this, but you can call me whatever the hell you like.
Rosica. Because of our previous life as comedians, I've never known how to actually pronounce. I think your real surname. I can only call you Razor.
So I gigged for years some years, like 3 or 4 years, something like that, as Jimmy Razor, and I tell you, it is a lot easier to spell. You're exactly right. And occasionally at work, people still call me that. I think.
Oh wow! Okay.
Partly to wind me up. I think.
Is that when you don't shave?
That's yeah. Well, no, should be when I do shave.
With the hope of some sort of subliminal messaging.
Yes. What they mean is, Jimmy, get a haircut. That's what they mean. Tim. Now you have to clarify. Do you call it Tim? Do you call it T.I.M?
I call it Tim. And it's very disturbing for me when someone calls it T.I.M, because even though it is technically T.I.M, because I've spent the whole thing calling it Tim, so it throws me. It throws me. Just Tim. Tim is good.
We'll call it Tim. Tim. I said, but Tim has been a big success on Netflix. So you were number one UK feature film in the week it was released, which was about 4 weeks ago, I think.
I think so.
Do they give you any feedback?
No. Do
they give you data and numbers?
We get literally nothing. I'm sure maybe the producers have been told something, but they haven't told me. So really, for the first few days, we just sat there going, no one's watching the film. No one's watching the film. And we weren't, even though we were exclusive to Netflix in the UK, we weren't a Netflix original, which is a sort of... I think we were meant to be originally a Netflix original, and then for some reason I think people changed at the channel, and then we suddenly weren't a Netflix original. So we didn't really get any promotion or anything apart from being just on the site. So I'm sure it came up on people's pages, but yeah. So we just had no idea anyone was watching it. You just sit there and you go, oh, this is the night it came out was the biggest anticlimax of my life, I think. I'd say the same for for Sarah, my wife and co-writer, that she married me, so that's definitely not true. but yeah, you literally nothing happens, and you're like, is anybody watching the film? And then I think 2-3 days in, maybe on the Friday, I think it came out on the Wednesday or the Tuesday, it hit the top 10, and then we were like, oh, people are watching it, and then we sort of climbed and up to 3 for a few days. So we were basically in the top 5 for 2 weeks in a row, so that was great. And then and we got a number 1. So that was, then we went, okay, people are watching this. But even now, I'm still surprised when I bumped into someone I haven't seen for a long time, and I said, oh, by the way, I did a film this summer. He's like, Tim. And I said it was called Tim, and he went, Tim. He was like, I've seen it, it's awesome. And I was like, oh God, it still is a bit of a surprise that it's actually just been out there in the world.
I mean, it's you say it's out there in the world. It's out in a limited number of territories at the moment.
I think it's just UK at the moment.
It's just UK. For non-UK listeners, and I hate asking you to do this, but can you describe it in a sentence or two?
It's a 90s stalker thriller with an AI manservant as the stalker rather than a bunny boiling woman.
Good, yeah, good pitch. What was the first seed of the idea for the film?
Well,
I mean, what inspired the idea? How did it develop?
Well, Sarah and I, we were thinking we wanted to, she's a she's a fiction writer, mainly young adult up till now.
Yeah, she's a novelist. With how many?
Yes.
I mean, well, I don't want to do you down. You also are a novelist. You've published
but I'm not. Yeah, I'm nothing compared to my superior wife, who I have to
3 or 4 novels now, I think.
Yeah, I published a few books. Yeah,
But yeah, no, she's a very successful novelist, isn't she? She's published 8 books now. Is it something like that?
yeah, definitely 6. I think 6 I can think of.
Right.
And she's got another one coming out. So she's on book number 7. Yeah, so she's doing very well as a novelist, and she's got her first adult one, which we can't talk about for another week. When's this coming out?
This is coming out next week.
Okay, so there may be an announcement by next week of something very big that she's done.
Exciting.
But anyway, yes, so she's a very successful novelist. We wanted to write something together, and we're both massive technophobes, and we really do not enjoy technology in our houses. Well, that's not true. That's not true. We're happy. We like our computers, and we like all these kind of stuff. But I think we don't like being monitored. We don't like the feeling that like we're talking about something, and then next thing an advert for something comes up on our YouTube feed. We had it there was a little period where we didn't know if our son was going to need speech therapy, and then we were just chatting about it, and then it popped up on the YouTube feed. It was just like, that's weird. I think it's the same sort of feeling everybody gets now. You always feel you're being listened to, and we probably are. And so I think we wanted to write something about Android, Alexas, and and being monitored and algorithms and things. So that was really the seed of the idea. How can we do this sort of? How can we write something about the way people are being monitored and manipulated now? And I think, with the idea of it being a stalker, basically, because it is the ultimate stalker, and that has complete, permission to be in your house, and and for a small bit of convenience, you will give it access to everything, and and I think we're, it's not just paranoia. Like, I was reading something about how, algorithms could tell people were gay before they even knew themselves, or it could tell people when people were depressed, so it can work out when to sell them products, and what products to hit them with. It's something that doesn't really make an appearance and doesn't seem like it's happening, but it definitely is. And so we just wanted to write about that, really. So even though I think it feels like a film about robots in the future, it's kind of really, as much as anything, a film about what's happening now with big data.
And if you want to see a dystopia, just open the curtains, isn't it? So if your pitch was kind of AI and big data could turn on you.
Sorry, that I almost heard "turn you on" then, and that was, it all went a bit wrong.
Yes, that's a different kind of data.
That's a different film.
Did you kind of shop the idea around, get a producer interested, and then write the script?
No, we wrote.
Or was it the other way around?
We wrote the full script, and I don't know. We just never had much luck with pitching. I think it's just when you haven't got till you now. I'm hoping now that we've got a film under our belts and things. It's we're in a bit of a different position, but just always found it very difficult to sort of get people to get ideas, from pitches and things. And the trouble is, I've always found if you're pitching, and then even when someone likes the idea, then you spend so long in development with them, and trying to like explain things that are obvious to you and you don't think are important and things like that. And actually, whereas if you just got the script, people get it and go, even though I don't think that's completely true, but to a certain extent, people get it and get what it is, and they go, oh, okay, yeah, I'll get how this is a film. Whereas I think it's the reason why being a writer or being a director is actually not a completely easy thing, and not something that everybody can do, because it does take a bit of skill to even with a script. I think it takes a bit of skill to actually visualize a film from a script.
Yeah.
And I think we forget that sometimes. We just assume everybody can read fluently, which they can obviously read fluently in literal terms, but in terms of actually being able to,
I wouldn't be so sure.
Yeah, maybe not. But whether they can read fluently in terms of envisioning a script, envisioning a project, I think it's a bit of a different matter.
I know, and Andres and I have both found that a very powerful prop to go into any meeting with is a 120-page document. It's nice to go in with an idea and a pitch, and it's nice to be able to tell a story, face to face, and it's nice to have a one-pager. But if you can slap 120 pages down on the desk, that's a very powerful bargaining chip, because you can go into any meeting and you can say, well, look, there's a script. If you want, you could shoot that tomorrow. Let's have a conversation. And it's suddenly so much more concrete than just trying to pitch an idea around, which still feels a little bit airy and insubstantial.
Even if it's a script for a different project, they don't know that. You just put the cover on it, and but no, definitely. And there's just definite feeling that it's sort of that it is real, and there's enough content. Like for example, something we were working on recently. People were like, we were telling me the idea, and they're like, I'm not sure there's enough content for a film here. And it's just like, there's completely enough, and then we actually, we decided to end up not doing it with them and wrote the script in 3 weeks, from having, done these outlines for them. And it's just, I don't know, I would love to be paid ahead of time to write a script, but at the same time, I'd like to, I feel like you spend so much time when you're developing with people wasted. That actually it's better to just write the script. And then if people don't like it, or there's something that they think needs changing in it, then at least there's a document. It's not that they haven't got what you were trying to explain, or anyway. But then look, that's the luxury, I guess, of someone who's it's not a luxury, I guess, of someone who's not in a position where they get where people offer them money ahead of time very easily, so I guess I have to do that, because but maybe that will change as my reputation precedes me. Who knows?
What is the verb for my reputation reputes? It reputizes, I think. That's a word, isn't it?
I really don't know.
But it is now.
But it should be a word.
So you're talking about so the two of you are co-writers, and it's Sarah who gets her name on the script first, which is one of the things that people traditionally fight about endlessly, in my experience. What's the writing process like? I mean, just like sheer nitty-gritty stuff. Is it paper and pencil? Do you walk around the house with a laptop? Do you use Post-it notes and a big whiteboard? How do you collaborate? Who does the talking and who does the typing? I think that is like the most important bit of figuring out a collaborative process.
I don't think it's a very, a husband and wife team is not probably representative of what anyone would ever do, if they weren't married to someone. It's like, I don't, whenever, I know what you mean by that. When I've written with people before, and one person's at the computer, then someone else is in, but it's one person's at the computer and the other person storms off, and then and then I make some coffee, and then it's just so, but it's we in terms of things like pen and paper. For example, the film we're working on at the moment, I sort of went out because she was busy on a book beforehand, and I sort of wrote notes for ideas and things with pen and paper, and just sort of, I generally use pen and paper as a sort of idea generating brainstorming thing, where I kind of feel very connected with pen and paper. But now I've got into the habit, when I'm actually writing scripts, I'm usually writing them straight into a computer, and whether that actually be straight into final draft, or to trick myself that it's not important, I do it in in another app like Word or Pages or something, something that isn't formatted correctly and it isn't right, just to go, this doesn't matter if this is, because I think that's the difficulty with when writing scripts. Often that it's very difficult to take risks because you want it to be right. It's the same with all writing. So it's just anything I find where you can trick yourself into thinking it's not important. Like even if this is a scene I'm not very happy with, I'll always start a new document for the scene. And rather than try to write it into the main document, because I don't want to mess about with the main document, and because I feel less free. Whereas if I go and do it in a new document or a new final draft doc, then I just copy and paste it in. If I'm pleased with it.
Right.
But that hasn't really. But I thought might be vaguely interesting to people in terms of that might be in terms of actually writing process.
I'm fascinated by process, and I'm always surprised when there seem to be as many processes as there are writers. I've never met anybody who does it exactly the same way.
Yeah.
Do you have your scenes and Sarah's scenes? Do you hand them out? Or do you? Have they both got your fingerprints on?
Well, yeah. Sorry, I haven't really answered the question about collaboration very well. No, they're both together. Like we're kind of we sort of discuss things, and then is that your throat or is that your dog?
No, that's my dog.
Okay,
to be let out. Do you hold on for 5 seconds here and I'll let her out. Very professional, so professional.
It's okay. It's good.
Right, dog's been let out now.
We'll cut to here. Hey, and we're back. So in terms of, I'm just trying to think in terms of actual process what we do. So for example, I'm not somebody who likes to. I'm not a very city person. I'm a sort of very movie person. So I'm often sort of, I will go in somewhere and lie down, and Sarah will sit and type for a bit. And then I'll go, no, let me have a good look at that, and then she'll go give me 2 minutes. I just want to have a go at this. So we just it's quite organic in terms of how we do it. I think because we do really trust each other,
right?
To have a go at something, and then it's that maybe makes it easier. So I guess that's the positive side of being with someone you're in a very happy relationship with. Well, when you're not writing, and who you really respect, that you can sort of leave them to it for a bit, and then she'll leave me to it for a bit. But at the same time, the downside is that everything is more personal when something isn't liked, and it's very easy to sort of bleed over from and not be talking about the idea really anymore. So and I think it's just certain things one gets attached to and the other person doesn't. So it's still a tricky process, of course.
Do you write from start to finish, or do you tend to move around backwards and forwards and go back to page 40 and then forward to 82 and then back to page 10 again?
I think both in a way. So we generally write forwards. We start the script and we go through to the end.
Okay.
But at the same time, I think very much in 3 dimensions. Sorry, that sounds like it's not really the right word, but that sounds like a value judgment in terms of the quality of the thinking. But I don't mean that. I mean usually I'm thinking, I will put this at this point, this before, and this before that. I've got like
right.
I'm always, it's like a sort of cubist approach to the script where I'm thinking about usually thinking about something that happens and how it works with something that would happen earlier. These things seem to sort of come to me at sort of at the same time. So I have these little moments that I want to get in, and they just sort of come to me. And I think Sarah's like that as well. We both have these little ideas, but we sort of park them, write them at the end of the document, and then just go back and move forward. I think one thing that I've always really liked is, because I used to be a big sort of index cards person.
Okay.
But now when I started writing books, I just started. You just have to write a book forward, really, because there's just so much content to do. You can't. It's not. Whereas a script,
you just have to get through it.
You just have to get through it. Whereas a script is, and also I think that's often why books end up more interesting than scripts in terms of So when a book adaptation happens, there's often more sort of interesting concept, interesting scenes, because it's not just trying to hit the formulaic beats. It's not just trying to hit the act structure and everything. So it means that when someone comes in and adapts it to that structure, they've got a lot more to choose from. And therefore, they've just little things, little whims that have, tickled someone's subconscious one morning when they're out for a coffee writing, and that, can then be, give a texture to something that, a screenplay that doesn't necessarily happen if you're, writing screenplay. But
I think that's exactly right. That it's, a screenplay, I think, is many parts all stitched together, whereas a novel is much more just a long chain of events, I think.
Yes.
Basically, the message I'm getting from you is I think you type some of the script in green and then some of them in red, and then you put on a pair of 3D glasses. Is that right?
I'm glad that came across really clearly.
Thank you. Great to see you. Thank you so much for stopping to chat. I know you probably want to go in and get popcorn and see a movie, but before you do, I'm going to ask you for one more favour, which is, do you fancy coming with me up the road and trying to get Andres out of his self-driving car? If we aren't back for next week's episode, then please send a search party with a crowbar. We'll be back next week with a proper episode. Until then, thanks to Spencer Brown. And everybody try and watch T.I.M. It's a good thriller. It's on Netflix. It's in your house for free.